Might Guy is the strongest Taijutsu user in the Narutoverse, a master of the 8 gates. Someone so powerful that he can manifest his physical power into shapes, starting with Asakujaku, the Morning Peacock, and ending with Night Guy, the Night Wasp. But Guy should also have died in the 4th Great Ninja War. Of course, some people would be sad about Guy's death, and some people are probably even saying that, no, Daigo, you're wrong, he shouldn't have died, I like Guy, I want him to live. But I don't really look at characters like that as if they were real people. I look at characters and search for opportunities in the narrative, in the story, in the character arcs. And Guy's death would have definitely made Guy's story, as well as Naruto as a whole, better. And in this video, I'll be explaining why. We all know what happens to Guy at the end of the war arc. He uses the 8 gates to fight against Ten Tails Madara, the strongest character ever in the Naruto universe. Yes, he is stronger than Kaguya, first because she's not canon, but even if she was, he would have been stronger than her anyway. So in order to combat such a powerful opponent, Might Guy needs to use all of his power and activate all 8 gates. Also, the only way to hit Madara in that state with a 10 Tails and Yin Yang release was to use Taijutsu or Senjutsu or Sage of Six Paths Senjutsu, which most characters don't have access to. It only comes to Taijutsu, and the only person that can really do anything against Madara with Taijutsu there is gonna be Guy. And I guess you could say Rock Lee could have helped out, but he can only open up until the 6th gate, which is not gonna cut it. I'm not saying Rock Lee is weak or anything, it's just that Madara is on another tier of strength. And even still, Rock Lee was pretty useful in that fight. He did really well with Kakashi's strategy of tossing the kunai so Minato could teleport and block the truth-seeking orbs before they reach Guy, and Lee timed that kunai perfectly, which, if it wasn't for that, then Guy would have died to the truth-seeking orbs. But also, before Guy even enters the 8th gate, he fights against Madara in the 7th gate for a little while. He assaults him in Taijutsu, Madara avoids the attacks, but then Guy uses a Hirodora in point-blank range, hitting Madara, which unfortunately for Guy doesn't do much. Madara is just kinda dragged away, and he slides on the ground. He doesn't even fall backwards or anything. Guy, on the other hand, because it was point-blank, the Hirodora essentially exploded on Guy as well, which makes Guy pass out, even though he was in the 7th gate already. Madara uses that chance that Guy is not awake anymore and tosses the truth-seeking orb, which was going to kill Guy because he just couldn't move, but Lee rescues him in the nick of time using the 6th gate. And yeah, the Hirodora is obviously really powerful. First because we can see the size of that explosion when Guy uses it for the first time, and we see the size comparison between the Hirodora Blast and the Turtle Island, which is probably the most massive creature in the Naruto universe. Maybe it's even more massive than Katsuyu. Well, it's not more massive than the Ten Tails, but anyways. It's huge, and that knocks Guy out, but it doesn't kill him or anything. He just sits there sleeping, and it seems like he's enjoying himself over there, just taking a good nap. I wonder if Guy's a deep sleeper. It feels like he is, doesn't it? I wish I was a deep sleeper. Any sliver of light that peeks into my room wakes me up instantly, which is really annoying. But lately it hasn't been that annoying because I've been using today's sponsor, Manta Sleep, the best sleeping masks in the market. They are made with premium materials, they have this cool silk feel to them, and they just completely block out all the light coming in. So you could essentially sleep under the sun and still see complete darkness. I've been using the Manta Pro sleep mask for over a month now, and the results are great. I have been sleeping so much better. I feel so much more energetic. I don't even notice the mask around my face anymore because they feel so good, and you can also customize them to your face, adjust the eyes, adjust how tight it is around your head, and they also don't press against your eyes, which was always the biggest issue I've had with other sleep masks. So head to the link in the description below and use coupon DYGO for 10% off on your Manta Sleep products. You'll see a major difference in your sleep habits. And now let's get back to the video. So the reason why I single Guy out saying he should have died in the war arc, even though I also say that many more characters should have died in the war because it's a war, people are supposed to die, and the only quote-unquote main good character that dies is Neji, Guy should have died specifically because of his jutsu. The final gate, the 8th gate, the gate of death, was set up to be a power that's going to kill the user. And that's not something Kishimoto came up on later on in the series, no. That was set up from the very introduction of the 8 gates. When Rock Lee uses the gates for the first time against Gaara, Kakashi is explaining how the gates work, and he says that if you open up until the 8th and final gate, you are going to achieve power that surpasses the Hokage, but it comes with a steep cost because you die. And that's essentially the theme behind the gates. They damage the user's body, and obviously the most damage you can possibly take is dying because of it. And I mean, the 8th gate is literally called the Gate of Death. It's very self-explanatory, isn't it? And that's the thing. The 8 gates were set up very early on, and we know there were 8 gates. And this is Chekhov's gun, right? If you introduce all 8 gates, eventually you have to show us all 8 gates. Otherwise, there's no need for you to introduce them all. I mean, if you didn't want to kill Guy or use something that could kill the user, you could just make 7 gates instead, or just make the final gate not kill the user. But obviously, the final gate being so dramatic makes the story better. And subconsciously, when Kakashi is explaining the final gate, the gate of death, you're just getting very excited because, oh, okay, so there is a gate of death. And if Kakashi's explaining it, obviously it's gonna happen later, and I'm excited to see how that's going to unfold. The drama, the stakes, it could be amazing. And that's the thing. We spent way over 600 chapters never seeing the 8th gate. And because the story was getting to an end, we were starting to get curious and even worried we would never see the gate. But then there's that scene when 5-tailed beasts were aiming Bijudamas at point-blank range to Guy and Kakashi, and Guy's like, I'm gonna use the 8th gate and deflect them and whatever. And then Kakashi's like, no, you're gonna die if you do that. I am going to convoy them away. Eventually, they don't have to do any of that because Naruto achieves KCM 2 by befriending Kurama and saves them. But that reminded the audience that the 8th gate, the gate of death, it exists, and it's probably going to be used somewhere in this war. After all, it's now or never, which made us also very subconsciously excited because we want to see what that gate looks like. And when Guy shows up to fight against Madara and eventually realizes he needs to open the 8th gate, that is just an amazing moment. The realization Guy is about to open the gate of death, that he's going to sacrifice himself to try and buy time for Naruto to arrive, to try everything against this overwhelmingly powerful opponent. It's such a cathartic moment in the series. I remember reading the manga for the first time when this just came out, and it was unbelievably hyped. We get Guy's backstory here with Might Dai, with him going through that effort, seeing his dad being ridiculed by the village, and at the end, his dad saves him and his squadron by using the gate of death. And the transition from the flashback when Might Dai is about to open the gates, when he's going to fight against the 7 ninja swordsmen, to Guy using the gates, is one of the best scenes slash parts slash panels in the Naruto manga. It's really something else. Unfortunately, the anime didn't do a very good job adapting this scene. But reading that for the first time, you see Might Dai is about to open the 8th gate in the flashback, but then when you turn to the page, you are met with this 2-page spread of Guy opening the 8th gate instead, and you just get goosebumps. And so, you as the reader know, Guy's destiny has been sealed. He opened the 8th gate. It's going to allow him to use this amazing power, but he's going to die. So it lends this sense of sorrow to the fight, but also epicness, and you see the characters reacting to it. Rock Lee's crying, but then he's saying, no, I can't be sad about it. Guy Sensei is doing this for the next generation. He is sacrificing himself for us, just like any other ninja that carries the will of fire would do. And then Madara mocks Guy, saying, oh, the red blood that forms because of the 8th gate. It reminds me of a dead autumn leaf that's going to die and wither. And Guy says, yeah, it's exactly that. I am the leaf that's going to fertilize the soil for the new generation of fresh green leaves to grow and thrive. And then the fight starts, and it's absolute hype. And you as the reader know, Might Guy is going to die at the end of this fight, so he has to do it now, right? Come on! And at the back of your mind, you sort of know, okay, Guy can't actually kill Madara here or permanently defeat him in any way because Naruto and Sasuke have to go and fight Madara, but still, you know Guy is going to die, which just makes the stakes huge, and you absolutely care about this fight when you're reading it for the first time. The strategy Minato, Gaara, Kakashi, and Rock Lee pull off to convoy away a section of Madara's truth-seeking orb shield so the guy can punch through it was probably the most hyped I've ever been reading Naruto. That was probably 2013 when it came out, and I remember I was screaming when I was reading that. Hell yeah! When Guy landed that hit that made Madara slide hundreds of meters away. And I'm gonna be real here, this is probably the fight in the entire Naruto series I've been most invested to the first time reading it. It felt so real, dangerous, cathartic. The stakes were extremely high, and that was mostly due to the fact that Guy had opened the 8th gate and he was going to die, and everybody knew that, so everybody was freaking out. And then Kishimoto cuts away from the fight, and he goes to the Naruto and Sage of Six Paths scene when Hagoromo explains the past to Naruto that he is a reincarnation of Ashura, and we don't know what's gonna happen to Guy because he just cut away from the fight. And I remember when the manga was coming out, and we didn't see what Guy was up to, and oh my god, what's gonna happen to him? People were making memes, oh, Guy's still alive, hell yeah! It was a crazy time to be a Naruto fan when those manga chapters were coming out. So when finally Kishimoto cuts back to Guy versus Madara, he uses the Night Guy, his most powerful jutsu in that epic 2-page spread. Kakashi just looking at the dragon forming and thinking back to his dad telling him that, oh no, this my guy dude, he's gonna be powerful, Kakashi, you better watch out. And he realized, yeah dad, you were right. Guy lands that massive kick on Madara, blowing half of his body away, bending space-time with it. It's just an amazing scene. The way Madara survives that is just the absolute most Giga Chat way possible. He starts to smile and laugh out of sheer joy and excitement from the battle he was having, and even before Guy hits Madara with his final attack, Madara acknowledges Guy as the strongest he's ever faced in terms of taijutsu, and that he hadn't had this much fun ever since he fought Hashirama in the Valley of the End. So this is just absurdly great. Everything revolving around this fight is amazing. After the final attack, Guy's body starts to wither away because the chakra of the 8 gates is going to fizzle out and he's going to die. That's what's going to happen, right? We knew that. And Madara even says, oh, before you turn into ash, before your body gets completely destroyed by the power of the 8 gate, let me go ahead and kill you in honor of the great fight we just had, in honor of the great shinobi you were. And he tosses the truth-seeking orb. But Naruto arrives and kicks the truth-seeking orb away, saving Guy. And I remember reading that and seeing Naruto save Guy from that. I was like, oh, that's kind of sad because Naruto's gonna save Guy and he's just gonna watch him die and wither away. That's gonna be pretty powerful, like a very good way to set up the coming fight between Madara and Naruto. The stakes are just amazing. Then Naruto kneels next to Guy and touches his heart, and this weird circle forms around Guy's heart, and the final embers of chakra don't leave his heart, which was going to kill him, and Naruto saves Guy from the 8th gate. Completely out of nowhere. And ever since that was done, ever since 2013 when this manga chapter came out, I was not a fan of this. Killing Guy here would make his sacrifice and his battle against Madara so much more impactful. It would honestly make it one of the best fights in the Naruto series because the ending would be so tragic but also epic at the same time. And usually when you fuse epicness with sadness, that's probably the best combination for a great story, especially when it comes to this cathartic fight in the Naruto series. Just remember Gaara versus Rock Lee, epicness and sadness combined. It's amazing, but because Guy survives, it doesn't have that anymore. And from a narrative standpoint, saving Guy here does nothing because my Guy is not going to be relevant for the rest of the series. He's only going to appear in the final chapter in a wheelchair with Kakashi in those hot springs and everything, and that's it. He's not going to have a role in the story anymore. And by saving his life, you make Guy's fight against Madara less impactful. Because retroactively speaking, when you read the fight for the second time, you're not going to feel the same excitement, nervousness, and sheer sense of dread that Madara is going to essentially win the fight because Guy is going to die. He could drop dead at any moment because of the gates. No, you know, oh yeah, he's going to survive, so whatever. I mean, the fight's still good, but it just doesn't have the same impact. For instance, when I reread Rock Lee versus Gaara, Jiraiya versus Pain, Minato versus Obito, I still have that powerful sense of dread and epicness because I know the results of the fight are going to be tragic. But with Guy versus Madara, the only thing bad that happens is that, well, Guy's in a wheelchair for the rest of his life, which is not great, but Guy doesn't seem to mind. And saving Guy here just feels too much like a Deus Ex Machina. Naruto arrives out of nowhere with a new jutsu he just got, and he saves my Guy with it. And my Guy was using a jutsu that's guaranteed to kill you. So Naruto already had amazing proficiency with a new godlike jutsu he just received. If that's not a Deus Ex Machina, I don't know what is. And those are usually not that great in storytelling. Sometimes they can work, but most times they're gonna feel cheap. It feels like the author just said, oh, magically, they survive! Guy's alive now, it's great! There's a reason why people remember fights like Pain versus Jiraiya, for example. It's because of the ending. It's because of how Jiraiya dies. If the Guy versus Madara fight had ended more tragically, people would remember it much more and would like it much more, even though it's sadder. It's paradoxical, but that's how it works. And having Guy die here would just lend so much more weight to the entire war, and also to the story as a whole. It would feel like after the heroes win the day, they had to make sacrifices, that it was an extremely difficult, hard-fought battle. So why did Kishimoto do that? Why did he save Guy from the deadliest jutsu you can probably inflict on yourself in such a convenient way? Why did he undo the build-up for the Gate of Death and also retroactively dissolved the tension of the Madara versus Guy fight? Well, there's this unspoken shonen rule that only one character can die per arc when it comes to the good guys. If you take a look at many battle shonen, that's how it works. Usually it's just one dude. Just look at Naruto, for example. Chiyo dies in the Kazekage rescue arc. Asuma dies in the Akatsuki suppression arc. Jiraiya dies in the entire Pain thing. And in the war, Neji died. So you can't really kill another major good guy character, can you? I mean, yes, I guess Inoichi, Shikaku, and Ao died, but they were very minor. My guy would have been a much bigger deal, but you get the point. Only one character is supposed to die. And obviously this is not a hard set rule, it's more of a meme than anything else. And recently there have been anime that broke this trend very harshly. But on top of that, it's likely that Kishimoto just sort of chickened out from killing Might Guy. Sometimes authors are afraid to kill their characters because some audience members will not enjoy that decision. People that treat characters like real people instead of fictional characters, instead of looking for good story and narrative opportunities, those people get really upset when their favorite character dies. And I honestly can't relate to that. I would be upset if a character that I love has a terrible death, like Madara, for example, in the Naruto series. That's what pisses me off about character deaths, not if they're done greatly, even if I love the character, but there are several people that don't share my sentiment. And so authors are a little hesitant to kill important characters, especially when they're good guys. Because villains, yeah, you're kind of expecting them to die, but the good guys, not so much. And the only other argument I can see being made here that makes a little bit of sense is that Kishimoto wanted to show that Naruto's powers were now at a completely different level. They were godlike. So the first thing he does is to kick away a truth-seeking orb, which should be impossible. If it was anybody else, his leg would just be dissolved by it, just like the truth-seeking orbs are cutting through limbs and heads and legs and everything. And then Naruto literally saves my guy from the gate of death, something we knew was going to kill him for sure. And so he feels like this godlike being with new powers, but you could have done the same thing without Naruto saving Guy, because kicking the truth-seeking orb, using the magma-style Rasen Shuriken later on, he already feels like a demigod in this universe above the rest. So you didn't have to save Guy to achieve that. Like, yeah, saving Guy is different from showcasing an extremely powerful jutsu like the magma-style Rasen Shuriken, and you can argue it makes Naruto feel different because he doesn't only have offensive powers now, but you lose so much more by leaving Guy alive than saving him in this situation. Writing is always about trade-offs, and sometimes, like in this case, it's very easy to see what's the best option. Guy should have died. It would have been one of the most epic, tragic, but amazing deaths in the whole series. Even if you want to make Naruto this godlike being, the way he saves Guy is really convenient, regardless of how you look at it. And it's not as though Naruto's going to use that power many times again. He only uses it once more to recreate Kakashi's other eye, the one Madara had snatched, and that's it. He did not need to have this power, and if he needed to get Kakashi's eye back there, you could just do that one time and not have him save Guy as well. The whole series would have benefited greatly, and after killing Guy in that amazing scene, the only thing left you had to do was not to make Black Zetsu stab Madara from behind and bring a stupid alien into the story that never belonged there. Just make Madara the final villain, dude. But if you want me to make a video about Madara being the final villain and how much better that would be, let me know in the comments. If you want to see why the Black Zetsu retcon was garbage, click on the video on your screen. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, ring notifications as well because that's very helpful, and thank you so much for watching.